The more they fabricate, the easier it is to sell souls.
There is a new price on freedom, so buy into it while supplies last. Changes need to be made. No more curbside baggage. 7 p.m. curfew. Racial profiling will continue with less bitching. We've unified over who to kill, so until I find more relevant scripture to quote, remember, our God is bigger, stronger, smarter, and much wealthier. So wave those flags with pride, especially the white part.
We're selling addictive 24-hour candlelight vigils in TVs. Freedom will be defended at the cost of civil liberties. The viewers are glued to television screens, stuck, cause lots of things seem too sick. I use opportunities to pluck heartstrings for theme music. I show you which culture to pump your fist at, which foot is right to kiss.
Welcome to the Grift. I'm Reverend Al.
I'm Gonzo.
It is a new post-truth society. Fact-checking is out. Imperialism and manifest destiny are in.
I know I, for one, am super excited to relive the 1840s.
It's amazing.
I can't wait.
I took Panama and left Congress to debate it. Thanks, FDR, for giving us that playbook.
All right, well, let's get started with this week's news.
Recording.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. I don't even... What?
I want this reaction on camera.
I don't... Oh, it's recording.
Oh, it is?
Oh, we're fucking recording.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh, man. We are so fucked. I'm dying. You're dying inside? Is that
I died, yeah. Like, every day I find more inside to die. Which, I guess... good for me. An infinite fount of.
You have a few trillion cells that need to die.
I've got a lot left in there to die. Apparently,
a few hundred at a time are dying. So,
I guess let's catch up on the news since last week. One, I'll say this right now. I don't know for sure anymore what was last week and what was this week.
It's a blur.
I don't.
Yeah.
There are certain things I specifically remember.
Yeah. So last week we talked a lot about the Vegas guy with his Cybertruck.
The Cybertruck.
And Motive got dropped like right after we recorded, of course, because, you know, the podcast gods are always against podcasters. And every time they record, something happens.
Yeah, even when you drop your podcast less than 24 hours after you record it.
Exactly. And in this
amazing.
case, news was dropping as we were finishing.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, I looked at my phone after we were done and was like, oh, shit.
There's more.
Guess what? There's more.
Yeah. So Motive, we've got some Motive now. He was a...
And how intelligible is that motive, would you say? How would you describe the motive we have been given for why he did what he did?
I would describe it as peak MAGA. That's so it's bad. Like, what's a shame is how underreported it is. Like, the media is really not.
I think one of the biggest problems we're going to face over the next 4 years is underreporting of important stories.
Yeah.
Shit that desperately needs to be known by everyone is just going to be completely ignored. And I have examples I will bring up shortly.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this
that I just found out about today.
Wonderful. So
through a social media platform that they want to ban because of things like me finding out stuff
that they don't want
that they don't talk about otherwise.
So, this asshole's motive was to inspire Elon Musk and Donald Trump to get rid of the unmanly, to inspire a kind of like masculine uprising against the woke and the liberals and the Democrats, and the like to drive them to try to like purge us from society for not being Trump fans. It's fucking crazy. You go read this guy's shit. It's nuts. It's absolutely unhinged. And he thinks he's going to, like, it's like a modern Turner Diaries kind of like McVeigh.
Isn't this
thing.
very similar to when Alex Jones proposed the idea of having a hit list of federal officials?
Yep.
That if we kill the right people, it will inspire the populace to rise up against the government even more.
Yes, which is what inspired that kid to take a shot at Trump. The one that almost got him.
That one who needed more range time.
Yep, that kid who needed a little bit more range time.
Fucking piece of shit.
Apparently, he had been watching that video of Jones, who said that if Trump is assassinated, that it would inspire them to be able to go after that kill list, and that that would be the precipitating fact, that thing that drove us to it, and go after the woke and the mob, and. It's very, and again, like it's very McVeigh-like, Turner Diaries kind of 2.0, inspire the new war against the enemy.
I came of age in the early to mid 90s.
Same.
I have a great deal of affection for the early to mid 90s. If we're going to bring anything back from the early to mid 90s, this is the one fucking thing it shouldn't be.
Right.
This is the one thing that needed to be left in 30 years in the past, and here we are.
Yeah. I have opinions about law enforcement and federal government abusing its power. All sorts of opinions about that, and most of the time it can go fuck itself.
Right.
One of the few areas where I don't have a problem with it, I'm going to say it, is back in the 90s when Clinton's DOJ was cracking down on homegrown terrorists, and just so happened to let the Waco nut jobs kill themselves and burn their fucking compound to the ground. And when the Ruby Ridge assholes shot at federal officials and they got blasted, I didn't feel bad at all. They were fucking selling guns to Nazis and other shit.
I felt bad for the 16-year-old who was convinced by his father that was a good idea.
Right. Yes.
That got him killed.
Yep. His father.
Because if you're 16 and your parents have told you to shoot at federal agents and those federal agents shoot you, that's your parents' fault for encouraging the behavior.
Right.
Don't tell a 16-year-old to do that, because they fucking will without even fucking hesitating.
Yeah. And I think that the right got a good PR boost after all this nonsense, but it shouldn't have. For one, the reviews of these things, sure, were there some mistakes made by the feds? Yeah, absolutely. There always are. But in both of these cases, these fucking standoffs, were shitty people refusing to follow the law and hurting kids and selling guns to Nazis and shit. So fuck them. And when we cracked down on these assholes in the 90s, when the feds started infiltrating these organizations, breaking them up, when huge lawsuits came down on the KKK and the neo-Nazi groups, when there were undercover operations breaking their gun running up, and they got all of the eye of the federal government zeroed in on them, they all went back into hiding like cockroaches. And that's where I think they fucking belonged. I think the biggest...
They are vermin and pests and plague-bearing, diseased creatures.
In my opinion, the biggest mistake of the Obama administration was not killing Cliven Bundy and his whole gang.
Yeah.
That was...
They were just allowed to get away with forcibly taking federal property.
Twice.
And holding it hostage.
Yeah, twice. They had 2 armed standoffs.
And they just got away with it. Nothing.
The feds should have rolled in there and killed all of them. That is my firm opinion. I don't give a fuck. Every single one of them blasted.
I certainly wouldn't feel bad if that's what they'd done.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be like, maybe, I don't know.
You know what? But it would have sent those cockroaches back under the fucking fridge where they belong. And that's just it. So, that's my opinion on them. You don't like me for it?
That's fair.
Eat my ass. So, but yeah, this guy, we're going back into this era of that bullshit from the 90s coming back. Yay. Let's see, what else we got in the news?
Panama, Greenland, Canada, renaming the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. That was the single most unhinged presidential press conference in the history of television.
And
it's not even close. And the fact that Trump was only competing with himself for that title from his first term.
Yeah.
Because I didn't like George W. Bush. I hated him as president. I hated his policies.
Right.
He was never that deranged.
No.
And I always understood why he was saying what he was saying and what his point was and what his motivations were. There was no confusion as to why he was doing what he was doing.
Right.
I understood it.
He had some gaffes, but
Right, but that's
right.
everybody except Obama, basically.
Yeah. But that.
I'm not going to hold a gaffe against somebody if they misspeak. I mean, sometimes weird shit just comes out of your mouth in a way you don't intend it to.
Right.
It happens.
Every once in a while.
We've all been there.
And
if you say you've never been there, you are lying.
Every once in a while, J. Cole gets to use you to sample. It's great.
Yeah.
That was deranged. And we get Jesse Waters out there on Fox News talking about how Canadians should be grateful, proud, happy.
You should be grateful to be annexed. It fuels my imperial bloodlust.
Gets a Canadian politician on and starts telling him how offensive it is that they want to be their own country. You offend me, sir. Like, this is the national news that we're getting into. This is happening.
It's like Lebensraum if you gave it a lobotomy first. And what is even happening? And I know that Trump supporters are going to pretend that this is why they voted for him.
Yeah.
This is not why you people voted for him. No. This is the exact opposite of why you people voted for him. I remember how much I had to hear from you dumb fucks that he was the anti-war president who'd never gotten us in a war and would never get us into a war, and he was going to end all wars.
And there was going to be no interventionism.
No intervention, and now we're just going to forcibly annex countries with the military if Denmark doesn't agree to sell them to us. Do you have any idea how much it would cost to buy a country?
Right. Also, by the way,
even if it were sale, you're looking at trillions of dollars.
I love and hate that you were right about the map thing.
Yeah. So I can't remember if I ever said this on the podcast or not, but a joke that I had made several times privately at work was that Trump probably wanted to take Greenland because he didn't understand that Mercator maps make things closer to the poles look bigger.
Right.
And he probably thinks that it is substantially larger than it actually is. And apparently that is true.
Yeah, he did an interview where he talked about how big it was and how massive he saw it on a map, and he liked maps. And
Greenland is not particularly large, and it's like 99% ice sheet.
Yeah.
There's like a ring of land underneath the ice sheet.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's just solid ice in the North Atlantic.
There's a couple of areas where it's a little pretty.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
There's like a town. A town.
But this is a country with, what, 56,000 people?
Yeah.
It's
not even a real city.
It's not even a real city. Like, this is a country that has a population that's about 1/8 the population of our city.
Yeah.
1/9, somewhere around there.
Yeah. It's a little bit smaller than the suburb that my house is in.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
fewer people than Iceland, which is a fraction of its size.
Yeah, it's a tiny little island.
Like Reykjavik by itself as a city has more people than Greenland has as a country, if I recall correctly.
It do, yeah. But we're gonna apparently annex it, and the Panama Canal.
Well, you see, tens upon tens upon tens of thousands of Americans died building the Panama Canal, even though only 5,600, mostly Central Americans, died making the Panama Canal.
Yeah,
they were mostly from like Honduras,
right, and
Guatemala.
I mean, American guns were pointed at them while they did the digging.
They did the work at our behest,
right?
Perhaps slightly coerced.
Slightly,
maybe a little coerced,
forced-ish. But Americans didn't die in droves building the Panama Canal. The main thing,
more Americans died building the Hoover Dam.
Yeah, what it looks like is actually the motivation there is that the Chinese government has been doing more and more positive dealings with Panama for favorable trade
Well,
deals.
you know,
and
as
transportation
we
through there.
alienate people, our biggest global economic adversary, to use the word, which I don't particularly like. I don't think
rival, I would say.
rival.
More
Rival's
like
good.
rival. Economic rival.
Is going to pick up the slack. They've been doing it in Africa, making very beneficial for them trade deals with the governments of numerous resource-rich African nations.
Yeah. And they're looks like they're about as shady as we are. They just look a little bit better on paper at first, right?
What we do with our military force, they just buy.
Right.
They just throw money at it.
Yeah. But
Which is interesting that they're the ones who call themselves communists.
yeah, it's fascinating.
I don't know. I have a hard time believing China is communist when Chinese billionaires exist.
Right.
That right there, I don't think they're actually a communist country.
No,
I think they might just be doing some hardcore state capitalism.
Yep. State capitalism was popular. But therein lies the thing. So the Chinese government has been cutting some deals with Panama, it looks like, and just getting more involved down there. And that seems to be Trump's big motivation, is he wants to take the country over because, that way China can't,
Can't do it.
can't trade through the Panama Canal favorably or something, like can't transport through there. But then of course Canada,
like our single most important trading partner,
yeah,
globally.
right.
Probably, they would probably be our genuinely our overall our closest ally,
Yeah,
globally.
like
They're the country that we have historically gotten along with the best, and it's good that we get along historically that well with our neighbor to the north that we share one of the longest borders on the face of the planet with.
right. Like
That's a good thing. We should probably have a good relationship with them. We should probably not go out of our way to do weird shit to piss them off.
yeah, and like here's the thing. Canada is large, but it's not a huge population, but it's not small.
44 million people.
Yeah, 44 million people.
Yeah.
So California, right?
Yeah, a little bigger in California.
Like in California.
About 10 million more.
And it's a resource-rich country. Their military is not big, but it's competent.
And it's really good at war crimes.
Very. That's the other. All right. So for those of you who really want to do a big old imperialism, let's hope that if we do it, it's a peaceful, negotiated, step by step, they want to do it kind of thing. Because if you read your history, like most of the Geneva Convention, Canada is responsible for. A lot of international law.
A lot of international law. They have had quite an interesting history.
Right. So they show up at wars they're not even invited to.
to commit crimes against humanity no one had previously even thought of.
Right. Like, and it's not illegal the first time you do it. We've learned from international law. And
If Canada has taught us anything, it's that.
And they did so much. Read about them in World War I. It's horrific. They just showed up and it's like, oh God, the Germans are like, it's crazy. So yeah, let's not. I don't want to do that. I don't think
I don't want to do that. No.
All right. So the end of fact checking as we know it.
Fact checking. Yeah. So
Mark Zuckerberg,
the two things
deceased
that
at the age of 33, transgender ally and activist.
Completely doing away with fact checking as if saying that something is factually inaccurate is censorship is insane on its face.
Yeah, 100%. Fuck you for that.
You saying something that is factually incorrect and someone else saying that is actually factually incorrect is not you being censored. Because you're still saying the dumb shit you're saying. You're just being given context that you're fucking wrong.
Yeah. There are a couple. The idea of free speech and censorship really. People need to have a better understanding of this. All right, first and foremost, the First Amendment and your right to free speech applies to actions by the state, the government.
The federal government and your state government.
Yeah. It does not apply to actions by private citizens, private corporations, private entities. If you are in my house and you start saying things I don't like, I have a right to kick you out. That's free association. It's another one of the rights of the First Amendment that we all have, and it goes hand in hand. You have a right to associate with those you choose to associate with and not associate with those you choose to. That includes associating with their speech. So if I create a platform like this podcast, it's our platform.
Yeah.
And I say, you can't say that on my podcast. You can't.
You can't. You can't. If we start getting comments and we decide, nope, you don't get to say that in our comments, we'll delete your ass, and we have every right to do that.
Yes. And that is not censorship.
Now,
I mean, in a colloquial sense it is, but it is not in a federal sense. And neither is it a affront to your free speech.
I will say, we are more likely to just be mean to you back than delete your comments.
But I assert that I have that right.
Right.
And you can't take that right away just because you want to speak.
No,
your right ends where mine begins. Yeah. And that happens with these little devices that we have here too. All the apps that you use, right? Like these websites, these companies have a right to decide what is and isn't said over their platform. And that doesn't infringe upon your rights. And so there's that. And then, yes, just being told that you're wrong.
It's not censorship.
Isn't censorship.
Being told that you're being bigoted isn't censorship.
Correct.
If you are still saying the bigoted thing, you're still free to say it. You're still free to have the opinion. Yep. That doesn't mean you're free from the consequences of expressing it out loud if other people decide you're full of shit.
Exactly. And algorithms, etc., deprioritizing you or limiting the spread of something if it's absolutely batshit untrue or they know that it was generated by some fucking foreign government or something also isn't censorship.
No.
It's just saying, okay, yeah, the system isn't going to spread this like a virus to everybody's mind.
I mean, you can still spread it yourself. Yeah. You can still encourage other people to spread it. You can still get your dumb fuck message out there pretty goddamn easily with little to no effort.
Yep. So
you're just not going to have the algorithm necessarily helping you as much as you might like, but you don't have a right to algorithmic help to get your shit out there.
Exactly. So like the Hunter Biden laptop story, remember how, there was all censored. I mean, you heard about it. I heard about it. We heard about it the day of. Right. And the day after that. And the day after that. We heard about it that entire time that it was limited on Twitter.
If it were censored, you wouldn't be able to find out about it. Right. Like, say, here's an example that I found out about today because a woman who was a member who worked for the law firm that secured the judgment talked about it on TikTok. She was part of a law firm and a legal team that secured the single largest personal injury settlement in history for 3 teenage girls who were essentially held captive in a mental health facility.
Okay.
That was lying on their medical records to milk insurance to the tunes of tens of millions of dollars for their treatment. Jesus they were sexually abused, physically abused, emotionally abused while they were being held captive in a mental health facility that was using lies about their health care to make more money.
How?
They have been awarded a $360 million judgment in their favor.
Christ.
Now, it is essentially impossible to find news about this online because the girl was talking about how she wanted to make a TikTok about it because they were very proud. They were trying to create a presentation about how proud they were of their victory, and they wanted to make some social media posts about it, and there were no news articles of any kind about this judgment except for one that she found through ABC News. That when she clicked on the link to go to the actual web article, it had been deleted from the internet.
Why?
We don't know.
That's interesting.
But the legal judgment settlement has basically just been memory hold already in real time. This was a settlement that happened back in late November of last year.
You know, it reminds me a small amount of the old hot coffee case.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. For those who don't know, the hot coffee lady that sued for all those millions of dollars.
All those millions of dollars.
Actually, first didn't sue for all those millions of dollars, just for medical bills.
Which came to like 50 grand.
Yeah.
If I recall correctly.
It was punitive damages that the jury awarded, which was like
out of their anger over the facts in the case.
Yes,
they were so angry at the facts of the case.
Right. Because it turned out that McDonald's knew that their cups were really, really flimsy and weakened under that heat.
And that they were also selling coffee that was hotter than normal coffee from other establishments.
Yeah, by about 10 degrees, which doesn't seem like a lot, but again...
The difference between 170 degrees and 180 degrees and 190 degrees is shocking.
Yes. They had several instances before of people getting injured, and they just paid out quiet hush money settlements fast. And for whatever reason, they decided to fight this lady, even though she needed like her entire like pelvis and groin and labia reconstructed.
Genital skin grafts.
Yeah.
Like, just think about the phrase.
Yeah.
Genital skin graft.
It's horrific.
She was elderly.
Yes. And but it turns out they knew about all these things, and they had been hiding it, and they knew that, again, like I said, their cups were flimsy and weakened under the heat. Now, look at the McDonald's cups from the like late 80s and 90s. They were that tiny, thin styrofoam.
Sad styrofoam.
Yeah, that if you got, and you could feel like coffee like leaking through it, like through the sides of it.
Yeah.
You know, it's
that was wow, I didn't, thinking back, you could feel it
like it's just little drip, like tiny little droplets of it. It's because it was just this cheap styrofoam that under that heat like expanded and got weak, and they knew about it. And they didn't do shit. And so they were hit with like a day and a half's worth of coffee sales. That was the punitive fine. What they sold in coffee for like 2 days.
Yeah.
In just the U.S.
But what you have probably heard is that she was trying to drink coffee while she was driving. And she was so clumsy and so stupid, she spilled it on herself.
Yep.
And that made her feel entitled to millions of dollars.
Right. But no, she's actually the reason why they changed their cups to those thicker paper on styrofoam cups that they have, and the reason that they put the cream and sugar in for you inside the store rather than like just handing it to you in your hand when they hand you the cup. She's the reason for both of those 2 changes with McDonald's. They didn't exist before that. And in the settlement that they got, they hit her with because they fought the jury award and finally settled for a lot less. They didn't pay out all those millions that they were hit with.
They should have.
Oh yeah, they should have, but they didn't.
She was owed that money. It ruined the rest of her life and killed her earlier than she would have died otherwise.
And they hit her with an NDA and have used that case as a vehicle to hurt your ability to sue corporations for shitty things that they do.
Because I am 100% positive when you have been told about how overly litigious our society is and people ambulance chasing lawyers and people grifting the system. That's the case that's been used as the example to show you how bad it is.
Yep.
And how much we need tort reform.
Exactly. And so don't trust these fuckers.
Yeah. Don't trust anyone who says the phrase tort reform.
Never know.
That just means you losing legal rights to compensation that you're owed.
Yeah. Why would you think about this for a minute? Like, who are you protecting with this tort reform? Like, it's not you, the consumer. It's not us. It's not anybody that is suing anyone. It's just the people getting sued. And we decided a long time ago that we were going to have very few general regulations, like in comparison to a lot of other Western democracies. And we were going to handle most of these things through the courts. So
either you have the government write laws that can be enforced, or you have everything just be a matter of civil litigation.
Yep.
Either way, you need some mechanism to protect your rights as a citizen for being abused by people who have a monetary incentive to abuse you.
It makes the market work.
Yeah.
Like it's, this is actually kind of basic, like, Adam Smith level econ, right? This is the shit that makes our market work.
That's why it's so ironic that libertarians don't understand Adam Smith.
Yeah, I know. I mean, they can quote like 3 lines. Often cited, never read is a line from a political economist, Mark Blythe. He likes to say, Adam Smith, often cited, never read.
I'm recalled of back in maybe around 2017, 2018, the trend of putting Adam Smith quotes on pictures of AOC.
Oh yeah.
And sending them to libertarian Facebook pages where they would just absolutely lose their minds explaining why she was wrong.
Yep. Especially Adam Smith also has some really great quotes that make him sound like Marx.
Yeah.
Like it's there are just some things in Wealth of Nations where you're like, wait, capitalists have not read this, have they?
No, they haven't. They haven't.
For every rich man, there must be 500 poor. And if not for the stiff hand of the civil magistrate, he wouldn't sleep comfortably in his bed afraid for his life and possessions. Like,
it is all about having a heavy, punitively regulated form of capitalism.
Yes. Oh yeah. He's like, you've got to punish bad people.
You have to keep these fuckers in line.
Right. Like if you,
or they will do everything they're doing.
Like, yeah, like everything they're currently doing. This is why. Adam Smith saw all of this happening. It was like, nope. And Marx,
if
to his credit, was like, yep, that's true. Nope.
If Adam Smith were transported from his time to ours right now, one, after the horrifying shock of the time travel itself, he'd just start murdering CEOs.
Probably.
With
also,
a musket.
I mean,
and a saber.
Unless he discovered OnlyFans first, and then we would never see him again.
This was my dream all along.
I mean, you know how Benjamin Franklin would react to our society right now. There are so many sex toys. Oh my God. Look at all the whores I can find. You can just order them with your phone. What's a phone? It's amazing.
So aside from the death of fact checking, look at what about those terms of service changes on Meta? Have you seen that?
No.
All right, so their
hit me with it, you asshole.
Okay,
all right.
They have explicitly come out and said that you're not allowed to make fun of someone's intellect or anything about them unless they're queer.
Yeah.
And then you can call them mentally ill.
Uh-huh.
You can call them stupid.
Yeah.
You can call them crazy. You can call them delusional. You can call them anything you want.
Yeah.
As long as they're queer.
That was it. It was the weirdest. You sent me that screenshot. I was like, the fuck am I reading?
Yep.
Like,
it's the most.
Their rationale seems to be because, well, you know, some religions think it's bad, so okay. Like, that was if religious bigots want to be religious bigots, then we have to accept it.
No.
But nothing else. You cannot do that to them.
No, it is very much akin with a mutual friend of ours who had a gentleman during a Facebook argument tell her that he hoped she got raped. So she told him to go fuck himself.
Yeah.
And she caught a 3-day ban while he was not penalized at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
when we talk about shitification and why it makes everything suck. This is one of the things. We are feeding the worst of our society because it makes money and it's getting clicks, and it's fucking depressing. Speaking of depressing,
yeah. Where are we going now?
The House has passed a bill to sanction ICC officials for Israel prosecutions.
Cool.
Yep.
Cool.
So we are going to try to punish officials with the International Criminal Court for prosecuting war crimes and crimes against humanity committed by Israel.
But only Israel.
But only Israel. I'd like to point out that there are very few countries on earth that actually commit as many fucking crimes against humanity as Israel does. There are some. But for the last 30 years now, Israel has actually been kind of at the forefront of it.
They've been really bumping those numbers.
Yeah. Because, one, they've got an apartheid state. Unambiguously. Look, if you want to argue with us in the comments, go ahead, but you're wrong.
You're
just wrong.
There's no way to argue it. I would respect you more if you tried to argue that it was good that they had an apartheid state than if you tried to argue that they don't have an apartheid state. There
are many prominent Israeli academics who have made that argument. I don't respect them very much. I don't like them very much.
It's
but
at least intellectually
yes,
honest.
But there are many very prominent Israeli academics who have made the argument that it's an apartheid state, but it's necessary for their security because, unfortunately, the situation is what it is.
Well,
bunch of post-Holocaust refugees wound up there, and whatever caused it is their position, right? And now, obviously, I have my historical reading of it. They have theirs, but they're on the we're here now, and if we don't do this, it's gonna get bad. Like,
because it's not already bad,
right? But that's at least it's got some honesty to it.
Yeah.
But if you're here in the West pretending it's not, or you're some like Israeli influencer channel like Travel Israel, go fuck yourself, you asshole on YouTube. You know who you are, you piece of shit. I hope we tag him. We should tag him in Travel Israel because I wanted to fucking know he's a piece of shit.
Okay.
So
I don't actually know who we're talking about, but I believe you.
He's a very prominent Israeli influencer who used to be just a travel guide guy, and then October 7th happened.
Oh, yeah.
And he's been like mega propagandist ever since. But it's a apartheid state. Land grabs, violence.
Every West Bank settlement is illegal, essentially.
Yep.
Under international law.
Every single one. The fact that Palestinians aren't granted citizenship in Israel because the whole place has been pretty much annexed is illegal. The fact that Israel hasn't left and given them their country back is also illegal. Those are kind of like the two options that they have under international law is like make the whole place one country and like apologize and give everybody citizenship, or just to like pull the fuck out and give them all their land back outside of the 47 border, right? Those are like their two options, and they choose neither. So, then go fuck themselves.
Like there was an opportunity 70 years ago for them to have like very abruptly militarily dominated every potentially belligerent Arab neighbor they had and say, you see what happens when you push us. You leave us be, we'll leave you be. We'll all be friends.
Yeah.
They could have done that.
I mean,
but they wanted more land.
Yeah, yes, and I mean it is a little stickier there. So I mean, I read a lot about that period of history. Like they did dominate the 47 war, but their neighbors actually weren't really didn't have their hearts in it. It's one of those. So it gets taught.
Sometimes a populace demands something a government doesn't actually want to do.
Exactly, and see, it gets taught as if like all the Arab states just invaded Israel, but no, Israel started a war of independence. They call it their own war of independence. They just like one day decided they were going to overthrow what was left of the Brits because the Brits are pulling out, and they're going to overthrow that and going to take that territory. And they do.
I understand overthrowing the Brits.
Right.
That's reasonable.
Yeah. And they do, but they also just immediately start moving into areas outside of the 47 partition plan lines, right? Which the Arabs weren't even happy with to begin with, right?
Right.
So they start immediately moving past that and start land grabbing outside of it and attacking Arab villages, and then the neighboring Arab states are basically forced to
have to do something,
right? Especially because they had a massive refugee crisis, like 200,000 refugees into the neighboring Arab states. So like, yeah, they're like, what the fuck, right? So they send some forces. The only country that actually sent a large number of forces was Jordan, and you saw what they did. They annexed the West Bank.
Yeah.
And they cut a deal with Ben Gurion to do it. He knew about it. So, I mean, the king of Jordan and David Ben Gurion were yeah, you can have this half, we'll have the other half. It was a secret deal between the two of them. It's great. It's documented. Anyway, so fuck Israel. God, my rants about we're going to get we're going to get fucking bomb threats for this one. I love it.
Yeah. Hey, man, like all press is good press, and all engagement is good engagement.
Yeah. Speaking of which, and speaking of people who kind of made some peace in the Middle East, Jimmy Carter's funeral today.
Jimmy Carter's funeral is today.
Apparently, George Bush wouldn't shake his hand.
Apparently, there's some really entertaining footage. I meant to watch it, and then I didn't.
Yeah, so
because I wasn't looking at my phone this morning.
W wouldn't shake Trump's hand.
Yeah, I heard some things about W not shaking Trump's hand. There was apparently some like Obama was running interference, just sort of like cornering Donald in to keep him from like getting a little too Donald about it.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch
He
this.
apparently could not shut up the entire time. He was just like yammering at Obama the entire time, apparently,
Oh god.
because they were sitting next to each other. Just wouldn't shut the fuck up. What are
That's-
the odds he doesn't demand that the flags be raised to full staff on January 20th?
Oh.
And it's not the first time
Ooh.
at an inauguration the flags have been at half-mast for a president's death. Nixon,
Yeah,
when he was inaugurated, it was Truman
you're right.
had died. So the flags were at half-mast.
But
It's
Wait,
just what we do,
wait.
30 days.
wait, Nixon?
Nixon.
I you can't make this shit up, can
You
you?
really can't. No, it's
The last time this happened was Nixon, huh?
history doesn't repeat, but it does rhyme.
You can't. I'm so amused by that.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Yep.
All
I
right.
didn't know that till yesterday. I found that out. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Let's
That's
see.
good. What else has happened in this week?
Oh God.
I feel like I'm missing something important and I can't remember what it was.
I mean, you know,
So much has happened so quickly. I'm going to need to take occasional breaks.
Yep. Oh, Trump is trying to get his sentencing stopped by the Supreme Court.
By the Supreme Court. Oh, that reminds me of another Supreme Court story.
Oh, but they declined to block it
They
apparently.
had to kind of block it. Well, good for them.
New York's highest court, but
Yeah.
the Supreme Court has still not weighed in
The
yet.
shenanigans at the North Carolina State Supreme Court. Are you familiar with what's going on there?
Ooh, no, what we got now?
So a Democrat won a seat on the state Supreme Court.
Okay, yep.
A Republican challenger is trying to have 60,000 votes thrown out so he wins instead. And the state Supreme Court, which is currently Republican controlled, and her going to the court would flip it back to
Mhm.
Democrat controlled, has decided that they need to hear this case. So they have halted the certification of the election. 60,000 votes. And his reasoning for why these votes need to be thrown out is that he says that the people who voted improperly registered because they registered long enough ago that current criteria that you would need, current requirements for voter registration weren't in place when they registered. So their voter registration shouldn't be valid. So they weren't allowed to vote. So all their ballots should be thrown out. Oddly enough, this doesn't apply to the presidential election.
Just
This one Supreme Court election. He wants 60,000 votes thrown out in that one race.
didn't Trump only win North Carolina by like something?
Yeah.
But like close to that.
Yeah.
Like so, if they're like,
Yeah. I've been following that one.
also, wouldn't that invalidate like most of their GOP supermajority if you threw out like every vote that?
Well, it's just for this one race.
But like every vote, like you again, all right.
But he only wants the ballots thrown out for his race, not for every other race. And the state Supreme Court is probably going to do it.
Why are we another one of those weird like, hey, I remember my civics classes and my history classes kind of things, like, you know, this concept that everything's supposed to be fairly universal, that we have the rule of law, like that, you know, something is like once these things happen, they become a principle, a precedent, a standard, right?
Mhm.
So you can't just toss 60,000 votes specifically for this one race,
But not
because-
touch the other races.
not touch the other races. And if that criteria would apply to, let's say, I don't know, 1 million ballots in North Carolina, right? Then all 1 million ballots would be tossed.
Yeah.
Right? You couldn't, all of their votes would be invalid.
Yeah.
And so if you do this, like, and this is what really bothers me about the modern GOP in the last like 20 years, that they've started to get more and more like, well, you know, just this one time.
Just this
this
one
one thing. Bush v. Gore.
Bush v. Gore.
Like, you know, when they wrote this can't be precedent for anything else going forward. Like it was like
And yet,
it became a
It
precedent.
became a precedent.
Yeah, because again, they forgot that even when they're trying to pretend that like they do this thing as a one-off because we just got to settle this thing right now.
Every court ruling is precedent.
Mhm.
That's just what a precedent is. It's a previous court ruling.
Yeah,
Like that's it. That's all it means.
right. But when they tried to say in the ruling that it wasn't going to be precedential, and then it became precedent later, it's fucking hilarious. Let's see. We got anything else of interest? Or we?
I know I'm forgetting something, but
There's so
again,
much.
there's so much. It doesn't even fucking matter anymore.
Yep. We still haven't gotten a lot of news about the New Orleans guy. I mean, we got some motive stuff. He was, a weird fringe. I wanted to join ISIS guy, and he was going to kill his family, but realized that it wasn't going to have an impact. Donald Trump is being Donald Trump. Musk looks like he's going to be the real president.
The entire city of LA is on fire.
Oh yeah, that's
We
right.
forgot about that. That's what I was forgetting. The entire city of LA is on fire.
It is.
5 neighborhoods are already gone.
Yeah.
Or mostly gone.
It is like $1 billion an hour in damages right now.
Yeah. And I believe last I checked, it was still 0% contained because the winds are still like 80 to 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, and just gusting in crazy directions. It's whew. And so I mean, they can't even get planes up with those gusts. Like because the firefighting planes are not terribly big. Obviously, they're not giant fucking 747s designed to handle heavy winds. So these planes get tossed around, so they can't even send them in the air when the winds are like this.
All they can do is evacuate people.
Yeah.
And if here's a reminder, if you are forced to evacuate and abandon your car, leave your keys in your car.
Yep.
Leave your keys in your car. That way, if somebody has to move your car, they can do it with the keys and not a bulldozer.
And this is what I was thinking about with that thing. The insurance crisis. California has one too.
Yeah. They've State Farm's pulled out.
Yeah. Some of the neighborhoods that have been hit by this fire already, up to 68% of the homes have had their insurance canceled in the last 3 months.
Cool, good times.
Yeah. That's
Here's another
this is
couple
gonna be a
things. Here's
disaster.
another couple of things to remember. I've seen a lot of stuff where like actors, celebrities have lost their homes. There is a fundamental difference between millionaires and billionaires.
Right.
And you should not just say that this is fine because you're seeing even a piece of shit like James Woods, who I think it's hilarious that he lost his house.
Oh yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's a good thing.
Yeah. Like
Exactly.
all right.
You can take joy in something that's bad.
Yeah. All right. So
And it's unfortunate. And I'm sure that with him being a total fucking psychopath the last 15 years, he's not a super wealthy guy, probably.
probably not.
This probably wiped him out completely. There are a lot of people you see on TV and in movies regularly who are living paycheck to paycheck.
Yep. That being said, fuck James Woods.
Fuck James Woods.
But-
It's funny. It's funny because he'll scream that like climate change had nothing to do with this while his fucking house is burning
Right.
from an unprecedented fire in the middle of fucking LA.
Yeah. Which LA is not actually known for getting these wildfires. Not these
No.
parts of LA. They happened out in the valley, out in other parts around it,
Yeah.
but not there.
Not there. They happen in the mountains a lot because it's even drier.
Yeah. And that's the rub. Like we're getting more of these unprecedented new things. Florida is this cold right now when it never is. We got this massive cold front going across the country because the
jet stream has allowed the polar Arctic air to just plummet down into the lower 48 in a way that it's normally not able to because of the jet stream.
exactly.
And the jet stream changes because it's affected by global climate.
Mm-hmm. And so it's so hot down in the southern hemisphere that it is weakening the jet stream up here. It's
Yeah.
just how it is. And that it's because it's their summer, our winter.
I don't know if you know this, but the Earth is a globe.
Uh-huh.
And when it is winter in the northern hemisphere, which is the top half of the globe, if you don't know what a hemisphere is, I have to talk like this. I have to talk to people like they're fucking 5 years old because this is the internet. When it's winter up here in the northern hemisphere, it's summer down in the southern hemisphere. It's like my friend that moved to Australia, which is a real place that actually exists.
I don't think so. Actually, I see it on TV, and I'm like, nah. it
Where the
can't be real.
koalas live and have super chlamydia.
that they get from humans,
And literally every animal is trying to kill you all the time because it has like every version of the most venomous creature on the face of the planet
including jellyfish the size of a pinky nail.
that will murder your ass
That if you touch them, you die.
in excruciating pain in 20 minutes. Yeah, it's summer there right now.
Yeah. And it's winter here.
And it's winter here.
Welcome
To a globe.
because
I don't know if
around
you
a
know
big
this.
fiery ball in the sky.
I don't know if you realize this, but about 2,500 years ago, Greek dude named Eratosthenes proved the Earth was round and how big it was within 1%
Yeah.
of its actual diameter,
And like
circumference.
and like 3,000 years before that, some Egyptians figured out that the world was round too through
Yeah, they just
putting
didn't.
two sticks in the sun.
Yeah, they
the
just
sand.
didn't. They didn't bother to figure out how big it was, but they knew it was round.
Right. Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it?
When Columbus set sail for India,
Mhm.
people didn't think he was insane because they thought the Earth was flat. People thought he was a fucking idiot because they thought the Earth was way bigger than he did, and he wasn't going to hit anything
Yeah.
because he didn't take enough provisions to go as far as he should have needed to go if North America hadn't gotten in the way.
Yeah. He didn't believe that the math was right on the size of the Earth, and thought it was a shorter trip than it was.
So he was wrong and stupid.
Yeah.
And every statue of him should be melted into a fine viscous liquid that can be used for other purposes.
He legitimately thought he hit India because he didn't believe that.
The Earth was as big as everybody else knew it was.
Right. And so he, miraculously found that there was a whole other spot of land in between
and he could
there
have
and India.
he could have accidentally missed it and just died at sea.
He could have. And
Pity.
shame how history had
Yeah.
to go. Let's
You know,
see.
you gotta love a guy who was considered a monster even by the standards of his time.
By the Spanish during
By
the
the
time of the
Spanish.
Spanish
It's
Inquisition.
like, bro, this is fucked up, dude.
they like he was like damn near excommunicated. He was
Yeah.
like
It's like, whoa. The Catholic Church was like, whoa, bro, you can't. No.
you cannot do that's
No.
evil. At
That's-
the time that they were torturing people.
Yeah, like, woof.
Tokamata is just like pulling people's fingernails out, and then they're like, Chris, you're a bad monkey.
Bro,
Don't do that.
what are you doing? These people aren't even Jewish.
Fuck.
I don't know if you know this. That's mostly what the Inquisition was about.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they killed a lot of women too, but women
and Jews.
It was mostly
Yeah.
targeting the Jews in Europe at the time.
Yeah.
That keeps happening.
Yep. Well, so here we are. Oh, piece of news to segue into our later story.
Okay.
Sam Altman.
Oh yeah.
From OpenAI.
A fine, upstanding, and highly intelligent man.
Yeah. Sam Altman has some allegations from his sister that he sexually abused her from like 1996 to 2006.
I mean, he's a tech bro libertarian, so
Yeah. That he like starting when she was really young, like 3 or something like that, until she was like 13 or it's gross. So yeah, apparently she's suing him, alleging that he like abused her sexually and physically and for a decade. He's denying it, but his denial basically is like, my sister's crazy and needs a lot of help, but we really care for her. She's very troubled, but we pay her off every month and she should be happy. That was kind of how that read. It was like,
you know,
ooh,
if your
that doesn't sound good.
if your defense of your behavior ever involves an explanation of why you're paying someone off, that's not a good look.
Right. We just
Even you know
we
what?
take care
You know
of her
what?
financially.
even if it is somehow genuinely a good point, you shouldn't make it because it looks that bad.
Yeah,
Just, just keep that one quiet. You don't need to go around announcing that.
I read it and I was like, did you mean this? Why did you say it that way? Like it.
What is happening?
Yeah. So that's us in the news, man.
Yep. So I guess that's a good time to segue into the main portion of the show.
Yeah.
All right, so we are ready for this week's big hot topic that we're going to be here to discuss because apparently I'm just giving exposition on how podcast works now all of a sudden.
Yep. So
Fuck if I know why. I don't think before I speak.
we're doing exposition now. Welcome to the Grift.
Welcome to the Grift.
Give us.
Did
all
you
your
know
money.
what a podcast was?
We're here to get your money. That's
Yeah.
what they are. It's two bearded guys talking, white guys predominantly.
Mhm.
Sometimes there are women, usually white women. Every once in a while,
Yeah.
they're not, but usually men with beards talking at you.
Mhm.
All right, so we're gonna talk about AI because it sucks and it's
It
going
sucks, and it feels like it's
everything.
the sort of thing that everybody is just can't stop thinking about right now. And it's interesting that it's suddenly in the zeitgeist in such an aggressive way, and nobody feels good about it except for the people pushing it.
Yeah. And it's because we have these giant breakthroughs in LLMs, large language models, which basically let, these computers do some thinking, like, some outside the box, like learning quickly, from language and picking up things off the internet. And it can siphon large amounts of data from the internet, which we have at this point in the last 30 years made an amazing tool which has access to almost all of the information that humans have ever developed. Like it's like 90% of all the information we've ever had exists out there somewhere on the internet. It's just harder to find these days because algorithms.
Actually, using the internet has become a fucking nightmare.
Right. But it's there. And because it's all out there, we have developed tools to use massive amounts of computing power to sift through all of that and learn, which
Right. And
cool.
there are, I will preface all of this. We are going to talk a lot of shit over however long we talk about this, probably at least an hour. We're going to talk a lot of shit. There are genuine good uses for these sort of language models, these sort of neural network type models. We've made incredible advancements with figuring out all of the different ways that every protein can fold itself.
Right.
Which opens us up to all sorts of potential medical advancements. We could be able to do all sorts of things. We could vastly decrease the amount of time it takes to develop new drugs. We could learn all sorts of things about how proteins work in the body and what we can do to manipulate them for whatever reason, good or ill.
We can do a lot to eliminate the need for human labor in a lot of different areas that is tedious and, time consuming and not really necessary except to keep bureaucratic processes operating.
We really could, if we wanted to, using these sorts of technologies, fulfill the promise of futurist writing from the 50s and 60s that talked about how in the future, in the year 2000, you would only be working 15 hours a week and you would need to toil. You would just be able to do a minimal amount of work and your needs would be taken care of.
Yep. And it's not even just futurist writing, though, I want to say. It's Keynes. Keynes's general theory talks about that. But
essentially all media of the time promoted the idea that in 50 years, we'll look at the Jetsons.
Right.
Fucking George Jetson shows up at work for 2 hours, pushes a button.
Right.
And fucks off back home to his robot maid and his hotter than makes sense for him wife with that fucking nose he's got.
Yeah, no, right.
And that stupid fucking hair.
In his flying car.
And I'll say this, the only thing about the Jetsons that I don't want is flying cars because I see what you people do in 2 goddamn dimensions. I don't trust you in a 3rd.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I see what I do in 2. Ooh, a flying car, though. I mean, my car already
The
flies.
last person who needs a flying car is you.
Hey, I was only doing $1.60 the other night.
Right. Yes.
So,
the difference between
Audi wanted to test me.
the difference between you not dead yet and you dead is flying. Flying cars. That's it.
I like speed. a closed course in Mexico, of course.
Yeah.
Not
Never. You would
I would
never,
never do this.
Never even commit the civil infraction of breaking the speed limit.
Never. Anyway, so now some good news in the AI space that just like dropped while we were in the middle of this, like 30 minutes ago. Story hit that Biden administration ignites firestorm with rules governing AI's global spread. Tech industry is fighting new regulations expected soon that aim to keep the cutting edge technology in the United States and allied countries' hands. Basically, it's about the chips made by like Microsoft and Oracle that are capable of handling the work that these AIs do. Since these things are made by U.S. companies and have national security implications, they would want to. They're trying to put a series of regulations to restrict their sale to the United States and our allies directly.
Okay.
I
mean, China will develop its own chips.
Yes.
Russia won't.
No.
But they'll get them from China. But
yeah, China can develop its own chips.
China has the capability to develop things.
Right.
Russia doesn't. That's one of the biggest differences between the two countries.
Yes.
China's also not like an open kleptocracy.
Right.
Either, which
is a big part of that. But we currently have an edge in that sphere, a big one, and it's probably we're ahead by years in that sphere as far as making and designing them goes. Mm-hmm. And so same with building the large language models. So we are probably, by doing this, it will give the U.S. and its close allies a bit more of a leading edge in the technology for a couple of years.
And a couple of years can make all the difference in these sorts of things.
Yep.
Because the fact of the matter is, the way things are going with AI and the way the people who are pushing it, this could all fall off a cliff fast.
Oh, yeah.
There's no guarantee that we will much care about this in 5 years.
Right. This could be groundbreaking, massive technology that changes everything, or it could all be a giant bust with way too much investment and crash.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, like the market cap is nuts. Like there's a lot of companies in this space, lots and lots and
there's
lots
a lot
of
and there's a bubble forming.
Mm-hmm.
There's aspects of the entire way that the money that's used to push these companies is raised that's very similar to crypto rug pulls.
Yeah. So for instance, like how much money we're talking, like Anthropic is in talks to raise a new round of funding, could value the AI startup at $60 billion. It's an AI startup.
They don't have a product yet.
Right.
They have an idea of a potential product, maybe.
Yep. That
they want to try to develop.
Then we've got XAI, owned by Elon Musk, which is big. You got OpenAI. They're the big market leader. Sam Altman, as we discussed earlier, is at the forefront of OpenAI, and it's currently valued at $157 billion.
Cool.
Now, here's the funny thing about it. Their next move,
mm-hmm.
They're currently in a deep. They've got plans to adopt a new corporate structure that takes them away from being controlled by a nonprofit.
Ooh, shocking.
Yeah.
Who would have guessed?
Yeah, I saw that one coming about a year ago. Like, when there was a little bit of a fight and Musk left OpenAI and there was a bit of a fight there. I realized that what was happening is that there was the nonprofit behind it was too focused on them actually doing things like kind of ethically, and since OpenAI was like the big game in the game,
I will say I don't think I've seen an industry in my lifetime that was less interested in ethical considerations than the people who are aggressively pushing for the development of these large language models and what they want of their end goal of artificial general intelligence.
Right.
There is no consideration for the ethics of anything they're doing at all.
Yeah, like
In the slightest way.
so it's nuts because as you talk about like with the AGI idea, right? There's like something like 5% of the people working in the space and like the CEOs and execs in this think that they're going to make an AGI that will destroy us all, but they still plan to do it.
Right. Like, though this will probably kill us all, but it's important that we do it.
Yeah.
We're
I mean,
2
it's
to
a
5
small-
years away.
Yeah. It's a small percentage, but it's still like,
And
why?
And I
Like,
will say,
yeah,
I will
right?
say,
Like-
as far as I can tell,
yeah, we mentioned this last week. Yeah.
this idea, they keep saying that we're 2 to 5 years away from having AGI. We're 2 to 5 years away from it. I think we are 2 to 5 years away from having an artificial general intelligence in exactly the same way we've been 5 to 10 years away from having nuclear fusion power for the last 60 years.
Right. Yeah.
It's just going to keep getting pushed back. There's always going to be stumbling blocks. I don't think we currently have, even with daisy chaining computers together and combining their processing strength, I don't think we have the technological computing ability right now
No.
to do enough calculations to actually have an artificial consciousness develop, especially when we don't even really understand what consciousness is.
Right. Yeah. We touched on this one last week too, and the same thing. We don't know enough about consciousness, the brain, or how it all functions to even replicate it, and then we don't have the computing power yet. Probably for a long while.
I think it'll take a real massive scalability of something like quantum computing to be able to achieve that level of computational power to actually have what you could call a genuine, fully, autonomous artificial intelligence.
But speaking of which, considering how bad these AIs are at doing what they do, OpenAI, of course, has unveiled a new system, OpenAI 03, which is designed to reason through problems involving math, science, and computer programming. Now, when I read up on that a little bit, it how would I put it? It struck me that they were trying to basically, again, like replace like human thought and reasoning through these issues and have the computer do the next logical leap work that people do. And we can't get it to get fucking fractions right yet. Like we can't talk about that.
So I saw a meme going around a day or two ago. Somebody had taken a screenshot of Google asking Google if 3/16 or 3/8 was bigger than 5/16. And the little AI synopsis that you get when you do any Google search now that comes up before anything else, that comes up before any website you're sent to or any sort of actual source for the question you asked, said that it did explain how you have to compare fractions. You have to have denominators and all that stuff. And then it said, well, to determine whether 5/16 is smaller or larger than 3/8, you have to convert 3/8 to 6/16, which is smaller than 5/8, than 5/16.
Oh god.
And then I didn't believe it. I thought, well, this is probably a Photoshop. So I went to Google and I asked, is 3/8 bigger than 5/16? And it told me no, it's not.
Yeah.
It's smaller.
Google's this is stupid. Google's Gemini is like killing their search function. It is destroying.
And they know that. They themselves have said that they fed it, the data set that they taught it on was bad. They gave it a bad data set because their data set included everything anyone's posted to Reddit.
Yeah.
So the entirety of Reddit was used as their data set, which means that jokes people made on Reddit are in the data set as facts.
Yeah. There are lots of Reddits that are all just memes and jokes and
It's half the site at a minimum.
yeah, and a lot of really kind of like funny, like, intentionally stupid things like that, like,
But that's
making a whole like fractions are wrong, like in like pretending to do Terryology, like Terrence Howard kind of like bad math shit.
I remember it was there was a Reddit. Someone had made a joke on Reddit that if you had pizza sauce that was too thin, just add some Elmer's glue to it to thicken it up.
Right.
And then Google was just giving that to people as a way to thicken their pizza sauce.
Yeah. This shit is happening out there, and
they're using this really faulty AI to power all of their search results.
mm-hmm.
I mean, it's almost impossible to find information anymore.
Right. And sometimes when I get, because every single time I do a search now on Google, like that fucking thing pops up and it gives me the AI summary thing, and like I don't know, one of the 3 or 4 times the links there are actually kind of handy to send me to someplace, but like every other time, it's just like, I didn't want this. I have to scroll and scroll and scroll. And then I have to go through the ads. And then I have to go through the sponsored content. Yeah. And then I go through some bullshit that makes no sense to what I was actually looking for.
You are on the second page of search results before you're getting actual search results.
Yeah. And it used to be like, back in the day, like on any of the search engines, but particularly when Google was at its best, if I searched for something, I either got like a direct link to a study. Like I got a university website, connected to, a professor's work that was about that topic. I got like the synopsis of a book. It sent me to the Wikipedia. It sent me somewhere where the information was valuable, or directly to a news site like New York Times, AP, etc. Something,
an actual source,
some source, and that was like the first like 5-6 results. And if I wanted garbage, I had to go to the second page, third page. If I wanted to get the real weird obscure
and you
shit,
wouldn't get the weird conspiracy stuff till you were deep in, and it was like, well, this isn't actual information. This is bullshit. So we're going to bury it further down in the search results.
Yeah, and now I used to look for that stuff too, because sometimes
it's entertaining.
It's entertaining, and sometimes there are some like like. In some topics, the good information like that you wanted or I wanted was still on the second page because was not going to be covered by the mainstream media.
Yeah, but there was a point where I had gotten good enough with my Google search queries that I could find exactly what I wanted to know in the first 3 results.
Yeah, and now
you can't do that anymore. You can't like. I will forget what I searched sometimes when I'm looking at the results because they don't bear any resemblance to actually what I typed in.
Yep. And so now we're going to be replacing experts in science and math with an AI. And that's going to be good.
That can't do arithmetic.
Yeah.
Like grade school, fucking 10-year-old child arithmetic.
And we now have faith-based tech companies that are creating AI tools.
What was this?
This
faith-based?
Yeah.
What does a faith-based tech company mean? Explain this to me, because I need to know what a faith-based tech company is.
These you can be help people do theological research with chatbots that can help them write sermons. You know how this is gonna go.
Maybe, all right. The sermons are just going to end up shitty Reddit jokes too.
That's what I'm thinking.
And it's not just a problem that AI is proliferating everything. There is a serious problem. And I think this is possibly the bigger problem with AI. Mm-hmm. The absolute total lack of discernment amongst the general populace to know when what they're looking at is generative AI.
People who won't believe that an AI video is actually AI generated.
When it's obvious.
Right.
And that's the thing. These aren't good yet. Like, AI video has gotten substantially better than it was 2 years ago. It's still garbage that looks like AI.
Were you the one telling me about the TikToker with the her parents and the dogs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was on TikTok because I doom scroll on TikTok a lot for the next however many days we got left of it. I mean, I'll still have it on my phone. So I got it till they update it and I can't use it anymore. But this girl was talking about how her mother was looking at this video of poodles in China doing yoga in perfect unison. Like 40 poodles
All downward dog.
doing yoga in unison. And there was like, but out of the 40 poodles, there were like 5 different poodles. They were 5 different colors. They all looked identical. They were all moving in perfect synchronization. And it had one of the common features of every single AI generated image I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
The same lighting as a Thomas Kincaid painting. They all have the exact, like, doesn't matter what it is, they have the exact same lighting as a Thomas Kincaid painting. I know if you look up a Thomas Kincaid painting, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Huge in the 80s, terrible human being.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, so like, she looked at this video that her mother was watching and said, Mom, this is AI. This isn't real. And her mother was like, no, this is real. They're just really good at training dogs in China. They give them treats. So she was disappointed in her mother. So she took a phone from her mother, went over to her father who has apparently worked in tech at some capacity for the last 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
He looked at that video and he said, they're really good at training dogs in China. They give them treats. I refuse to believe that it was AI generated. 40 poodles doing yoga in perfect unison.
This is where we're at.
Some of the fucking shit I see shared on Facebook, especially from right-leaning pages that somehow still pollute my goddamn feed all the time. Like, well, how come we don't share pictures like this? Well, it's AI generated slop.
Yeah.
It's not real.
I see lots of it. Like I said, in Gab and Rumble and Telegram, and there are a lot of AI generated videos of like Joe Biden doing something or Kamala Harris doing something, and it's dumb and it's obviously fake. But the number of people who seem to genuinely, sincerely believe it is staggering. And when I go through my Facebook reels and I see something goofy that's obviously AI generated, again, you look at the comments and there's thousands of people who are like, yeah, that's real. That's real. That's real. Like, that's why the libtards are like, it's like, Jesus fucking Christ, you people. Like, and now it's across the ideological spectrum, people that fall for some AI stuff.
I have seen it across all age groups and all political alignments. But this is not just something that's a problem on the right, although it is more of a problem there than otherwise.
That's where I was about to go, is that, but for people 55 and up that happen to be right-leaning, you're like 3 times as likely to fall for this shit. And you're falling for it because it's telling you what you want to hear. Yeah, and that's,
you believe it because you want to believe it, because it satisfies your own bias.
Yeah, that's the thing that really strikes me, is that as soon as anything hits their confirmation, their motivated reasoning kicks off, and it's like, yep, that's real.
It's real.
But you know what is real? That there are predictions that AI, the Wall Street is expected to shed 200,000 jobs as AI is eroding like roles in like
the market.
financial services.
Financial
in the market.
services.
200,000 jobs.
These are high-paying jobs
that
are going to be eliminated. These are people making 6 figures whose jobs are going to be eliminated. And
a lot of like support roles in there that are getting eliminated that, again, like $70,000, $80,000, $100,000 a year for like these support roles and entry level, like, analyst positions, etc., which are good jobs. They're great jobs for recent graduates and people with, young folks. They're going to be fucking gone.
And I can understand, as a knee-jerk reaction, if you're financially struggling, thinking that this is a good thing, because fuck those people. But those people will then be competing for lower wage jobs with you.
Yep. And
that is going to depress wages for all of us.
Yep. And since
maybe not us,
41% of companies worldwide plan to reduce their workforces by 2030 through AI.
And, you know, if this were coupled with some sort of plan for a universal basic income or guaranteed housing or some sort of mechanism to alleviate the economic stress that this is going to cause, that'd be one thing.
Mm-hmm.
But they're just telling us to go fuck ourselves
Yep. And
and
so,
deal with it.
and that's, think about that. 41% of companies worldwide planning to reduce their labor forces through this technology. Where are we going to go? Like, where are the people going to go?
I don't know, but we can't all work at bars.
Yeah. Like, you know, that,
They will become more coveted jobs because they'll be the only ones left.
right.
But we can't all do it. And it will be really limited to the people who already are.
Mhm.
Like, it's going to be just, you're just going to bounce around from place to place within the industry and nobody else is going to be able to break in until people get old enough that they don't do it anymore.
Yeah. And so think about it. It's, you know, we do have a lot of jobs that aren't really all that necessary, but they serve a bureaucratic need or an administrative need for the company.
There's a lot of bullshit jobs.
Yeah, there's a lot of bullshit jobs, but they serve some market purpose. They just
Right. And independently of having some sort of economic system that allows for people to survive without a full-time job,
Mhm.
they're necessary just so people can survive
exactly
in our current economic system. Getting rid of all those jobs doesn't change the economic system overnight.
right, and that's the problem. Is they're working on getting rid of all those jobs. They're building the technology to take care of all of the basically like the mid-level, entry-level, post-grad work, right?
Mhm.
Like, you know, post-graduation, tedious entry-level, get your foot in the door, use your skill set, work.
Prove your worth and work your way up,
Yep.
kind of.
All those jobs are going to be replaced by AIs. Like,
That won't do the jobs well.
right.
That's the other thing. Like, AI is not going to be good at doing these jobs that humans are currently doing, but it will be relied upon instead of having humans do it properly.
Right. Speaking of it doing it badly, let's talk about ChatGPT and lawyers.
Oh my, this is horrifying. And we know multiple lawyers.
Right.
And to the best of my knowledge, none of them do this shit. But it's becoming a real problem. So we should probably explain what we're talking about.
Yeah. So, I mean, there are a bunch of cases now with lawyers getting sanctioned for using ChatGPT to write briefs or make arguments and getting things wrong when they do, which is one of the reasons why there is law school and the bar and paralegals, right? Is to step by step put a set of human eyes on the research necessary to get the arguments right.
Right.
You know, it's
You don't want to be citing cases that don't actually exist.
exactly.
And that's happened.
Yeah. So at first, years ago, when it was just IBM's Watson that was operating solely off of, law libraries and published opinions,
Mhm.
right, and dockets.
Mhm.
You know, it was saving law firms lots of money. They instead of hiring 40 associates at these big firms every summer, right, to bring them on as summer associates, they'd hire 20, and they would use a computer program, you know, this big fucking AI thing, to do the rest of the research. Basically, make those 20 associates work as easily as if they had 40 of them.
Right.
Sure. Okay. It sucks for the lawyers, but, it was kind of an oversaturated field at the time anyways. So, all right, great. Like, they'll find other work doing other things.
Yeah. There's always going to be plenty of work for lawyers.
Yeah. But that being said, that was when it was useful. Now, again, we're learning it off of these large language models, and ChatGPT is the big, cheap, accessible game in town, right?
Any idiot can just go to the website and use it.
Yep. So lawyers are doing really dumb things like using, so New York lawyers sanctioned for using fake ChatGPT cases in legal briefs. This is like the dozenth time it's happened.
And the worst part is there is a way to use ChatGPT to make that job easier that isn't going to cause these problems.
Mhm.
Like if you are trying to make an argument and you need to cite a source, cite a case, you can just ask ChatGPT, hey, can you tell me a case that I can look up that applies to this? And then you can go read it yourself and actually write the argument.
Yep. But what they're doing is not.
That will save you time.
Yep.
That means you don't have to have everything filed away in your head. That means you don't have to sit in a law library somewhere scouring through physical pages to find what you're looking for. But you're still doing the work, and you're still actually thinking and engaging and looking up the actual case and understanding what it says. You're not just trusting the AI to do it for you.
But therein lies the problem, is these guys are not. They're just not doing it. And it's, I mean, one, we all know that lawyers are lazy assholes who like to overbill and underwork. But...
And, you know, if you can get away with it, I understand it.
You know, like legal models hallucinate 1 out of 6 in their benchmarking queries. So they hallucinate 1 out of 6 times when you use them. That's insane.
I don't know any people who hallucinate 1 out of 6 times when I ask them something.
Right? They don't make something up 1 out of 6 times.
And I know some delusional people.
Right.
We both do.
Yeah, we do. You know who does? You know who does?
Huh.
Our buddy Lee. Lee makes up shit, but that's because it's his thing, right? Like he audaciously and with great confidence just makes something up right on the spot, but that's his hillbilly charm. Yeah. And then you catch him at it after like 5 minutes. You're like, you motherfucker. Yeah. He's like, oh, you know, he does it with absolute confidence. I love it. It's wild speculations. But that we don't want him just writing legal briefs like that.
No.
Like,
no.
You know, that's your funny friend that you hang out with at the bar.
And the big difference is, like, he knows he's doing it.
Yes.
The AI is, they have the illusion, and they provide the illusion of being sentient.
Yeah.
They are not. They are fancy plagiarism machines.
Yep.
They do not understand the context of anything they're saying. They are not actually speaking to you. They are synthesizing words based on data sets.
Yeah.
And they are stringing them together in a way that they think makes sense based on the data set.
Yeah. And lawyers are getting reprimanded in British Columbia, Canada for doing it.
Oh, even the Canadians.
Even the Canadians. Federal judge in Charlotte has banned the use of any ChatGPT in any of his filings, and has said that he will absolutely sanction any attorney who uses it.
Good.
Good. Just fucking...
If you're going to be making like upwards of hundreds of dollars an hour to do your job, you should probably actually be doing your job.
Yeah. Particularly federal practitioners. There are not that. I mean, there are fewer of them than there are of state practitioners by a lot. Yeah. And they make good money.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like 600 an hour is not uncommon for them. 800 an hour, 1,000 an hour is not uncommon for these guys.
And if you're making that kind of money, like,
now, you know, they got a firm to pay for, so, you know, they themselves are probably making like 200 an hour, but they're still making 200 an hour. Fucking plus at the end of the year they get a big ass bonus check if they got 5 cases, you know, right?
Yeah,
like,
this is do your job.
Yeah.
You went through all the trouble of school and law school and passing the bar, and that's all very hard work.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
The actual like job is easier than all that shit.
Right. And
it pays well.
Yeah, it's just a lot of research and a lot of thinking, and you can't just rely on a fucking computer that gets it wrong all the goddamn time to do it. You're just falling for the grift. And that's, you know, so I think about human psychology sometimes, right? And what drives us. And so I play a lot of dumb phone games.
Yeah, I've watched.
Time. Yeah. I do that. I sit and I play these things. They're time killers because, you know, like,
got time to kill.
I got time to kill. Like, it's great.
You need that little dopamine hit every once in a while.
And, you know, like, I don't have enough hobbies, and, like, you know, I don't really have a job. So it's kind of nice.
It's true. You got time to kill.
Yeah. I mean, I work, but, you know.
Right, but it's not like when you had a full-time job that you had to do full-time.
Right. So So, I'm killing my time on them. I get all these ads because I don't like to pay for my games, so I deal with the ads, right? And first off, that I noticed that like a lot of these games are probably being designed by these AIs. Like,
Yeah.
they just seem to be just like slapped together.
Then they come out quick. They're hyper derivative. They're sloppy.
Yep.
Buggy.
Second, there are a bunch of AI games out there for like lonely, sex crazed fucking dipshits. Like, there's lots of like, how would I put it? Like choose your own adventure to try to bang the girl fucking games that they're trying to fucking send
And
ads
there's
for.
things like Replica AI where it's just like have your girlfriend in your pocket.
Yeah. And
That's
creepy.
I mean, like we mentioned last week, there's literally a kid who fucking killed himself.
Yeah. And this shit's creepy and
Oh,
weird. And, I understand the niche it's kind of filling, but guys, just get your shit together and meet people for fuck's sake.
You need human interaction.
So badly.
I know you think you don't.
Yeah.
Because it's hard.
Get your shit together.
You desperately need it. You need to talk to real people in the real world.
Yeah. So
desperately. All of us. Every last one of us, we need it.
Mm-hmm. Even fucking hermits need to talk to somebody every once in a while.
Yeah.
So that being said, I noticed that. But you know what else I noticed? That the best marketing that they seem to think works, I don't get it, is to have the gameplay look like the dumbest person on earth is actually playing it.
Oh yeah, all the ads where it's like the fucking they just always do the wrong thing.
Yeah, always do the wrong thing. And my brain, I watch it, I'm like,
why would you?
Why are you showing us this? Why are you showing? Like, it angers me that, like, because I'm used to like marketing.
It's trying to anger you into doing better than them,
right?
Because they're so stupid they can't play the game. I know what they should be doing.
Yeah,
I'll download the game and play it myself. And then you download the game and it doesn't actually look like anything in the ad.
Yeah,
which is another thing they love to do.
But the thing is that these games are like so basic and simple that like anybody should be able to make like the right decision, like 2 out of 3 times, right? Like in the gameplay that they're showing you, at least this is easy. Like, times 10 or times 2. Like, duh.
Yeah,
like,
just simple math that even an AI might be able to get right.
Right. and so they're showing you this shit. And it reminds me that like our society is so filled with aggressively wrong and dumb people, right?
Proudly so.
And they are like, I can do everything and anything better than the rest of you because you're all idiots. And that's how they think. Mm-hmm. And there's so many of them. And that's how they're marketing to us, right? And I wonder how much dumber we're getting as a society because of just the attachment to this technology and misinformation and the way that like AI is being used to just pump out misinformation over and over and over and over again.
That's going to get worse because you have companies like Meta who just announced that they are going to flood their own platforms with AI generated bots.
Yeah.
To spurn engagement and encourage people to post more and interact more because the AI bots are, as far as I can tell, just going to pick fights with people.
Yeah. And
I expect that they will also be doing the majority of the community notes posting that's going to be allegedly passing for fact checking going forward.
It's just going to be sad. Like, and
your parents and grandparents and brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles are going to fall for it.
Mm-hmm.
They are going to refuse to accept that the AI avatar they are interacting with and arguing with, who is telling them things that upset them, is a real person.
Yeah. There's a crazy little article on why IT may become the HI for AI agents in the future. Basically, because again, we're teaching these things to do everything based on the internet. It's like having television raise children entirely without parental guidance and then setting them out in the world, right?
Do you want another Gen X? Because that's how you get Gen X.
Yeah, right. And we are terrible. we're the worst. I mean, we're the end of Gen X, and we look back at ourselves.
And we
and
barely count.
yeah, and we still hate our.
Yeah, I mean, even growing up, I remember thinking I'm not Gen X because I'm not like those people.
Right.
Apparently, I was wrong.
Yeah, but us Xenials, I guess as they are, have our own little micro, like, because we're a lot like both, but not. You know. Anyway, long and short, like, we're gonna have IT professionals who have to like rein in their company AI bots and like fine tune them away from like racism and shit and like sexism, because it'll pick it up from the internet and then bring it to work, and so we're gonna have to train our IT pros to like manage the AIs so that they don't do bad things.
Yeah, I saw
computers.
I saw a video from Cory Doctorow earlier today. And I can't remember his exact quote, so I'm going to paraphrase what he said. And when he said that there are a lot of tech bro types who have mistaken all of the dystopias we wrote for business plans.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's really what it feels like.
All right. By the way, Cory Doctorow, you don't know it yet, but you're a friend of the show. We're hoping that someday you'll be a friend of the show, but we're your friend. You just don't know it.
Yeah.
We like you. We like you a lot.
Fans.
Yeah, big fans. So I think every time we mention him, I'm just going to say friend of the show. He just doesn't know yet.
Friend of the show. Yeah, he doesn't know yet. He'll catch on eventually as our power grows and our influence spreads.
But yeah.
I mean, as far as I can tell, there's not going to be anybody to stop us or fact check us anymore. So we can say whatever we goddamn well please as much as we please, and there's not a goddamn thing you can do to stop it.
How are you going to do it? Mark Zuckerberg dead at 36 after having sex with a transsexual alien. That gave him space chlamydia.
Super space chlamydia.
And how are you going to fact
that was
check
That was after he was the first successful rat penis transplant.
That's right.
Convicted pedophile.
Convicted pedophile. Elon Musk has said that he is allowed to babysit Mark Zuckerberg's children.
Because fuck them kids. Quotes Mark Zuckerberg.
This is where we're at.
And there's not a goddamn thing. Prove me wrong.
Check me, motherfucker.
Why don't you leave a community note on this post explaining how what I said isn't true, and then trying to explain why people should believe you over me? I don't think you can do it. I am a trusted source, goddammit.
Yep. And of course, everything else in AI news these days is all about NVIDIA. They're
having a good year for now.
They are having a really good year for now. It sucks for gaming. If you like gaming, you're gonna have to suck it and wait, because all the good resources are gonna go to these AI tech bros who think that dystopias are business models.
Yeah,
and
like Cyberpunk was not aspirational.
No,
Blade Runner not aspirational.
Yeah.
Nothing William Gibson ever wrote aspirational.
No.
None of this stuff is good for people.
A cyber arm would be kind of cool.
I mean, if I have to get rid of my real arm, like, I'm not going to do it just because. Like, maybe I do want to chip my brain. I don't know. I mean, not Musk's chip. Like, the guy's racing the monkey torture chip.
The monkey torture chip.
The monkey. We're gonna fucking melt their cerebellum.
How they approved them to move on to human trials after the horrid, unethical, destructive,
can you imagine
all the dead monkeys?
Can you imagine being enough of a billionaire's dick rider that you want to volunteer for that shit after looking at what they did to monkeys who have simpler brains?
Right.
They died screaming, clawing at their own eyes.
Hey, one of them murdered another. Just went ape shit is the right word for it. He went gorillas. Haha. That's where we're at.
I want one. Put it in me.
It will cure my ADHD, right?
And you know, they're just going to use these to like serve you ads directly into your fucking subconscious. You will dream ads by the time these people are done.
Didn't Musk once make some commentary about how it could be used to influence people's brains and it's
Owning a propaganda social network isn't enough for him. He needs to be able to like personally program your fucking brainwaves himself. Because ketamine gives you good ideas. Ketamine makes you smart and brave.
Like I said, everybody working in these fields are fucking unethical.
They're all insane.
Insane and unethical in every way. Because they don't care about the jobs. They don't care about the amount of human labor. They don't care about whether or not people are surviving or eating, like have access to fucking democratized fucking money. They don't care about the markets. They don't care about anything.
It feels like they just want to accumulate wealth to the point that wealth becomes genuinely meaningless.
Yeah.
Because at a certain point, when a tiny enough people have a large enough share of like the financial resources, they stop being financial resources anymore. They're not part of the economy anymore.
Yeah.
They're entirely separate and meaningless.
And wealth would become meaningless. Like, here's the thing is once you're over $1 billion, $2 billion, $3 billion, some number in there, right? Money is kind of, and your wealth is meaningless because you can't do more with it unless you're buying more companies and building more companies, right?
Just to accumulate more wealth to have wealth. It's the weirdest, saddest kind of hoarding.
Yeah. Like, if you're worth like $40 billion, right? Yeah, obviously, for the next 40 years, you could drop $1 billion into starting up some new venture, right? You could do that for 40 straight years, $1 billion, $1 billion, $1 billion, and have like hundreds of $1 million in fucking interest and investment money on your assets, right? Yeah. You could do that, no problem. But what does that matter functionally? Once you get to like $5 billion, you can't buy more. There aren't more planes to be bought. You buy the nicest private jet every 5 years. Every new like big hotness private jet that comes out every 5 years, you can get one, and it's a drop in the bucket. You can buy your $200 million yacht.
Yeah.
You could buy 10 houses, all worth $20 million and up.
Most of which you never actually even go to. You just own.
Yep.
And they sit there vacant unless you decide to pop by. The only thing that I have seen consistently increase in terms of like lifestyle for billionaires, the more wealth they accrue, they get crazier and more detached from reality.
Yeah, that's the only thing that actually increases.
The only difference between Elon Musk when he was worth $100 billion and Elon Musk at $400 billion is he's crazier and more erratic now than he was then,
and more full of himself.
Yeah,
and he was full of himself back then, but like he had this persona of like the mysterious like tech guy that was trying to save the world, and like that was mostly his like brand.
And he had
like it was fake.
It was fake, but he had the good sense to stay on brand.
Yeah, and to not say too much in public. Like he didn't just pontificate his like random thoughts all the time.
Do you think that the beginning of his spiral was when when that fucking Cybertruck window broke, when it was supposed to be unshatterable, like live?
He was spiraling before that.
He was spiraling already, but
that
was a turning point. That was a turning point.
He has gotten way worse since then. You are not wrong. That moment,
that glass shattering was like the last vestiges of any semblance of sanity in that man. It died with that window.
I saw this chart of his Twitter activity.
He posts thousands of times.
Yeah. And it doesn't,
in like this short, like it doesn't even make sense how often he posts,
because he can't be sleeping or working.
Well, he's just doing ketamine.
Like
I don't know how he's this awake on that much ketamine.
Right. But he's like, you look at the times and the amount of posting, and it's like, where does he?
Hundreds of posts a day.
Yeah. And he's not sleeping. Like it's happening like 24 hours a day, 22 hours a day.
That's like all of Trump's crazy posting is at 3 a.m, 3 a.m.
At least we know Trump sleeps till 11 o'clock. Right.
Right.
But
we know when he passes out for a while.
Yeah.
Like he is unconscious for some point of every day.
Yeah. The old presidential, I loved reading his presidential schedule because they talked about how hardworking he was compared to like Obama, who's always on vacation. You're like, this guy's work schedule is 11 to 3, 4 days a week. This is the president of the United States working for like fucking 4 hours a day. He just shows up, answers some questions at a meeting, and then goes golfing, and then fucks off for the weekend at one of his own resorts and overcharges the Secret Service to stay there.
And then after 10 p.m., once he's good and sundowning, he starts a truth socialing. He starts truthing.
Yep.
Truthing all over the place.
And hitting us with all Grandpa's crazy fucking thoughts. Like, that was his presidency. But Musk, for fuck's sake, he is posting like every 5 minutes for like 23 hours a day.
He's reposting and agreeing with like unambiguous Nazis.
Right.
Like not like well, they're kind of fashions. Like people who would self-describe as genuine old-timey Nazis.
Yeah. Also,
proudly call themselves
He's
that.
out here standing for, the German party that's entire purpose is to rehabilitate the image of the Nazi party.
Yeah, the ADL.
Yeah, the ADL. Like that's been part of their, like, it's not an unspoken thing for them.
They're out in the open. They walk right up to the line of German law.
Yeah.
Every time they speak.
Yeah.
Or issue a press release. Like they have mastered that art of not crossing that very firm line.
Right. And they are firm in believing that the Nazis got a bad rap. Like, and Musk is like, and only the ADL can save Germany. Fuck you.
Yeah.
All right? Fuck these guys. Like, this is why we stand Anthony. This is why. Or Luigi. This is why we stand Luigi.
I'll say this. I say this. As if you grew up in the same general age range I did, like if you were a kid growing up in the 80s,
Mhm.
I know the overwhelming majority of the media you consumed involved mercilessly slaughtering Nazis
Mm-hmm.
all day, every day. You grew up watching Indiana Jones.
And corrupt rich people.
Those
two things.
When you were in middle school, Wolfenstein came out.
Yeah.
And you fought Mecha Hitler.
You did.
And you killed him because that was the point.
Elon Musk is our Mecha Hitler. You know what to do if you played Wolfenstein.
It is, if you're going to go for the big boss, go for the big boss.
It's definitely not Donald Trump.
No.
No.
No, he is vice president at this point, and I'm really looking forward to that imploding.
Right. Speaking of which, Vance has been awfully fucking quiet lately, hasn't he?
Yeah, I've seen some paranoid conspiratorial speculation that Vance is just biding his time for having Donnie removed from office.
I mean,
I would not put it past anyone.
No.
Anyone who's truly in charge, any of the Heritage Foundation people, any of the billionaires, deciding that, well, Donald won us the election, but his utility is done now.
Right.
We're going to get our guy in there, and their guy is J.D. Vance. He is literally personally owned by Peter Thiel.
Yes, and he is a man that does not have direct, like, much of an ideology. He believes some of the Great Replacement Theory stuff, and he believes some of like the tech bro quasi-fascist things. But for the most part, he's actually an ideological blank slate.
He does seem to genuinely appreciate Curtis Yarvin.
Yes,
which we're gonna have to get into that guy someday.
Oh God,
that's a deep dive waiting to happen. I don't know that I hate myself that much right yet, but that's a deep dive that's waiting to happen because he is one of the most poisonous influences on modern American discourse, and almost nobody knows who he is.
Yeah, but he is toxic as hell. And I've read up on him a bit. I've read a little bit of his work. If you're not familiar with Curtis Yarvin, look him up and then realize that J.D. Vance is a huge, huge fan of that guy. Huge fan.
Has called him like one of the greatest modern political philosophers living.
Yeah, it's a weird, like, quasi-monarchist, pro-fascist, pro-Nazi kind of, like, but subtly.
With elements of weird trad Catholicism.
Yeah.
It's bizarre and very off-putting if you have anything resembling a working prefrontal cortex.
Mm-hmm. And so Vance genuinely kind of like holds to some of these ideas, but not like super strongly. And he's more blank slatey about it.
I mean, he's got to be a little blank slatey so he can just believe whatever Peter Thiel tells him to believe.
Exactly.
He believes whatever is convenient for Peter Thiel in the moment.
And for his political career. Like that's wherever his political needs go, he's that much of an animal.
That's why his first act as president, once he assumes the role after ousting Trump, will be to harvest all of the teen blood in the United States of America for Peter Thiel's personal consumption.
Of course. I mean,
by force of law.
Yeah. As a proud
They're not gonna be rounding up people for mass deportations.
Right.
They're gonna be sending everyone under the age of 18 to a phlebotomist.
Oh, so what else do we got on the AI? Are we beat this horse to death?
I don't know. It's ugly. It's stupid.
Yeah.
It's ugly. We really didn't touch on it. It's fucking ugly.
It
never looks good.
No, the art, some of it, like with Midjourney, you could do some really cool, pretty things, but like you actually had to like work on making the prompts.
You have to work on making the prompts, and I think it might be. I could see it having utility for like brainstorming ideas that you then use to make actual real art yourself.
Right. You know, I did see something cool. So I was at this gallery thing a couple weeks back, and there was an AI company that had this kind of cool app thing that you held your camera over the piece of art, and it brought the art to life, right? And animated it, and that was kind of cool because it like the AI generated some like animation
it's
over
almost like an augmented reality type thing. But it's not creating new art.
Exactly. No, you took
or it's not pretending to create new art.
You took an existing piece of art and you held your camera over it, and then it ran it through this AI thing, and it made the thing come to life. Like there was this painting of a dog, and all of a sudden there was a walking dog, right?
Like I could see something similar to that being like if you're a phone app where if you're like you see a piece of art and you show it to your phone, the app will like give you information about the piece of art itself, the artist, the history of it, all that stuff, like just instantly without you having to actually search for it. That'd be pretty cool. Yeah,
and now my phone has kind of a feature like that with the Google search, but again, it's garbage yet. It's working on getting there. And it's these like, these ideas are kind of cool, but your execution is terrible because you're trying to do everything everywhere all at once.
You're only focused on like the absolute most unethical uses of the technology.
And maximizing the spread of the tech at the risk of making it at the expense of making sure it is done well before you launch it, because everybody wants to be first to the market and get in the market and get it out there, and we're getting just garbage over and over and over again. So
we didn't.
Fuck you for that.
Despite the fact that the last 70 years of science fiction films have tried to tell us otherwise, the threat was not from mad scientists doing mad science. The threat was from tech bro billionaires being too egotistical and short-sighted to know that they were like creating genuine existential threats they should best avoid.
Right. This is one of the reasons I like the Alien franchise.
I do appreciate a franchise of films where the ultimate bad guy is a corporation.
Right. Exactly. You know,
trying repeatedly and failing spectacularly to harvest a bioweapon.
Yeah. And RoboCop. RoboCop also has, a corporation is the villain throughout the whole thing. Like, it's not the Ed. It was not the Ed 201. It was the executives.
That is probably my favorite sci-fi film of the 80s.
It was great. I loved it.
It is perfect satire, just like I expect from Paul Verhoeven. Even if so many people don't understand, he has essentially made nothing but a series of perfect satires, and that includes Showgirls.
It does.
If you know what Showgirls is satirizing, it's a brilliant fucking movie.
I'm doing my part. All right. So we hate everything, and everything's going to suck. And
I'm sure next week when we come back to talk to you about something else, things will be even worse because that's life now.
It's so good.
I'm excited. I'm really looking forward to 2025 and every year thereafter until I die.
It won't. It'll probably be too long. I'm not going.
Oh no, I know. I'm gonna I got decades left. Decades.
Well, we can't all toaster bath our way out.
Nope.
Some of us
Not
have
yet.
to endure, but at what cost?
Cost of my goddamn sanity.
It's true. All right, this has been the Grift.
Thank you for joining us. We will be back again to do it in another week. And give us all your money.
Give us all your fucking money.